Hello there, Ted.
Larry, how are you?
Can you hear me?
You sound good.
No audio. Hey, give me some chatter, Ted.
Can you hear me now? One.
Hear you now.
Right back, Larry.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. Still playing with this. How was your snow gig?
Oh my God. It was great. I'm talking to Larry. It was great, Larry.
Hey there, Don.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. I think we're still playing with the settings here, trying to figure some things out.
Yeah, Larry, I wish I could make that every day.
Yeah, I know that feeling, Ted. I have perfect days too, where I wish I could do that all the time.
For to inspect the solar arrays.
Oh, sure.
You have a FLIR on it, and the FLIR allows them to see the damage on the panels. They run it.
Oh, really? Well, that's a very sophisticated drone then, if it has flare technology on it. But this does not have that. Not even approaching it.
The kid that runs it, I'm jealous because he just punches it in these buttons, and all of a sudden, next thing he's just scanning the field.
Yeah. You know who's good at flying these things? My grandkids. You know, I've let them play around with it in the yard, and they're so used to playing video games. This is like, breaking sticks to them. You know.
How old are they, Paul?
Huh?
How old are they?
They range in age from a junior in college down to first year of middle school.
Wow.
Yeah. But they've been playing video games all their lives. So, I mean, a couple of joysticks to them, it's like,
Teach them. It's a good for a job path. Definitely companies are inspecting roofs with them. They're doing all kinds of things with them now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
When I was out in California, had a couple of guys. They put these I guess masks on or goggles on. I don't know what these things were.
Yeah.
And he said, would you like to try it? I said, well, would I get seasick with that? He said, maybe. I said, nope, I'm out. This thing, it took off. I mean, it was doing 100 miles an hour. It came right back on. This guy was actually flying with those goggles on.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing when you go look at all technology. I mean, you can pre-program a flight path, using GPS waypoints, and then just let it go hands-free and it'll follow the path, and both in terms of altitude and direction and everything. It's really kind of cool. There's a lot to it, a lot to learn.
What's this I see? There's a big game this weekend?
Didn't hear about it.
No advertisers though.
You mean you'll be participating in the 10 contest?
And if the Patriots aren't playing, is there really a game, right?
How about Brady's playing?
Oh, painful. It's a painful story.
Well, I like to see an old fart get ahead.
Well, I hear the Patriots are looking for a new quarterback for Andy. You want to set a new age limit?
No, I'm not old enough.
Oh, anyways, we're approaching 7:30 here. We're up to 40 people.
Wow.
As far as I can see, 3 of our guest speakers are here. I'd like to find out what that noise is, and whoever that is, have it stop. But
Is Jim on yet?
No, I haven't seen Jim check in.
I'll say when you get sent a reminder.
Just looking down the list here. It's not alphabetical. Oh, Eric's checking in from Florida. Never checked in when he was local, but now he lives way down there. He checks in every month. Alrighty. So how's your new amp, John? Oh, John.
Which one?
Oh, you, John. JKP.
What's what? What was your question?
How do you like your amp?
Oh, my new radio?
Well, the radio and the amp. Yeah, it's nice to be heard, isn't it?
The amp is great. I'll show you it. If I can get this cord long enough. Let's see. Okay, I'm not a very good cameraman. That's it.
Okay.
Big box. There's my radio.
Oh, you weren't kidding, were you?
Is that tubes?
Oh,
Solid state or is it tubes?
I don't think the amp is the amp you bought solid state, John, or is it? It's got one tube, right? So you have to tune it.
Mine?
Yeah.
No, it's completely solid state, no tune.
Yeah.
So it's got, like a lot of them, everything's controlled by the front, digital screen.
Yeah.
And
Do you have it set to the same band on the radio that amp follows?
what's that?
You have it set to the same band on the radio.
I can't hear you. You're coming through gargled.
Do you have it set so that when you change bands on the radio, that the amplifier follows it automatically?
Yeah. And then the bands are broken down by segments that you can pre-tune.
It's easy. It's easy to get spoiled. My amp is solid state too. I can change bands in a blink.
Yeah, it's all done through the cat cable. And then you can preset the SWR for each of those segments.
Sounds good. All righty, we're getting there. Go for 4 minutes here. In the meantime, I'd like to ask everybody to turn off their phone ringers, put their dogs that might be barking in another room. You have wives that tend to interrupt you. Close the door to your room, and whatever you may need to do to keep it quiet, so that the guest speakers are speaking. You don't get distracted by somebody hearing. Hey there, Ron. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you still here, or you're in Hawaii or somewhere?
Oh, I'm here I'm in my basement from my radio. So the wife put me here.
And aren't you retiring soon too, or something?
I have retired Tuesday.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Best job I ever had.
I hope I can make you worthy of the job I'm going to do.
So what are you going to do in your free time?
I'm going to mope around for a bit, do some Parks on the Air, and get caught up on a lot of stuff. I had planned last year to do 100 parks in New England, but COVID kind of put the kibosh on all of that.
Yeah.
So COVID be damned this year. I'm going out.
Good. Good. All right. That our 7:30 bell. All righty.
Bell?
All right. So
A chocolate cake.
is that your tower in the background, Frandy?
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I think it's Jim.
You left somebody up there.
Huh.
He's there every week, so he might live up there. All righty, gang. Why don't we get things rolling here? We've got a good meeting planned for tonight. And once again, you're going to ask everybody to turn off their phones, turn the ringers, put them on silent, so it doesn't interfere with the meeting. Text messages or calls. So visual is fine, but audio is not, so it doesn't interfere with everybody. I'd like to remind everybody about the Monday night nets. The HCRA net is open to everybody. You don't have to be a club member. It's 7 p.m. local time on 28.375. Net control is W1NY, and net control is Marcel, who is A1WH. We've been having a fun time. We have topics every meeting, every net Monday, and it's always very interesting, and we have a lot of fun. And I know when I ran it a couple weeks ago, we had check-ins from Michigan, Wisconsin, and I think Ohio or Illinois, which was quite interesting, along with the locals here. So if you can hear us on 10 meters, come and join us and, have some fun. We also have, as of a couple weeks ago, Gary, KC1JZR, has been running the new HamNet, and it's a new HamNet / HCRA member net. So if you know somebody that is new to ham radio in the last 5 years or so, or somebody who has gotten back into radio recently, and so it's a friendly, safe place to be. People can ask questions. Eventually, they'll be covering some different topics that are helpful to new hams or to hams getting back on the air. It's held on the W1BR repeater, which is on the Holyoke Soldiers Home. That's 146.715 with a PL of 100.0. 7 p.m. Join us. The repeater's got a range of around, I think, 40 to 50 miles, depending on where you are. Obviously, with an HT, you're not going to hit it from that far away, but with a home station, you might. With an HT, you'll probably be within 20 or 25 miles. But join us on Thursday nights. It's open to all Hampden County Radio Association members, and it's open to all new hams. You don't have to be a member, and all people returning to ham radio that are looking for some guidance and some assistance. And again, it's a safe place to be. No question is too stupid or dumb. Everything's welcome. And it's also a lot of fun, different categories that will be covered. And the big topic every week is always about food too. That gets fitted into everything else, right, Gary? But it's a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun last night, and hopefully you'll all join us. If you've been reading Zero Beat and coming to the meetings the last couple of months, Marcel A1WH is working on a balloon launch. And so, Marcel, wherever you are now, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and great to see you all again this month. The balloon is ready to go. I actually have two 36-inch Mylar party balloons, and this little baby right here, this gem, is the tracker. Completely solar powered, 2 super caps on it, transmits 20 milliwatts, 20 meter whisper signal, and it's every 10 minutes. It starts at 4 minutes past the hour, and then every 10 minutes again. Also, it decodes into APRS. So when we go up, we will be able to follow it on 2 meter APRS and 20 meter whisper. The launch right now, I'm looking towards the end of February, first week or so of March. I'm one of the net controls for Skywarn here in Western Mass, and I was in touch with 2 of our NWS guys today, asking them to keep an eye out for a good launch window where we'll have a jet stream going eastward with minimal amount of storms coming off of North Africa or out of Southern Europe, because that's our goal, to get across the Atlantic in 2 or 3 days. So when they give me a couple of dates, we'll be going up. We're looking right now for a launch site. One of the areas I had thought was the Holyoke Mall. The other might have been the old Springfield Plaza. Not sure if that's going to be feasible. I haven't checked what the traffic is like there, the parking during the day. And the other thing, the gas to fill it. Larry talked to one of his contacts in Western Mass here and put me in touch with Bob Iverson over at Ivy Industries in Springfield. And they are very graciously donating 100 cubic feet of hydrogen for the project, which is probably going to be enough to launch 5 or 6 balloons without any kind of a problem. They're giving us the regulators, the hose, everything for no cost whatsoever. So that's where we are now. We'll be working with Ken, KD1KU, to put announcements out when we are going to be launching. And we invite anybody who is available to come and see and to track and have some fun with this. And with that, back to you, Larry.
Okay, I'm just going to open it up a little bit. Are there anybody have any questions for Marcel on his balloon launch?
Yeah, Marcel, do we have any cooperating clubs or anybody in Europe that might be there when it makes it?
We haven't reached out to anybody yet. The builder of the tracker, Bill Brown, WB8ELK, has a network around the globe, all over Europe, Australia, if it were to cross the equator, everywhere. And if we go down overland, there's a good chance that he'll be able to overland in a friendly nation, that he'll be able to help us see if we can get the tracker back. But it wasn't a big expenditure. It was $159. So I think it's, that's a pretty cheap initial investment to get a flight under my belt and, learn all the ins and outs of getting one of these things up in the air.
How big are the batteries?
There are no batteries.
Oh, there are no batteries.
It's completely solar powered. So the sun has to be 15 degrees above the horizon. So that's one of the reasons I want to wait another 2 or 3 weeks. It'll give us another hour of daylight up there. And hopefully we can get 6-7 hours of transmitting time out of it each day.
Any problems with going through the FAA? Is this going to be in any problem being you're close to Westover and airplanes and stuff like that?
We are flying under, I forget the exact exemption, but as long as the payload is less than 6 pounds and we are using a fishing line to hold everything together that is less than 55 pounds braking strength, we are completely legal to go up. No permissions or approvals required. Good to see you, Eric.
How long do you think it'll take to go from ground level up to the height where it'll catch the wind that you want?
The jet stream. Probably something on the order of several hours, maybe 3-4 hours to get up to 30,000 feet.
Cool.
Marcel?
Yeah.
Marcel, I'm certainly no meteorologist. I'm curious, though, about the pattern of the jet stream at that time of year. If it catches that, will it carry it too far north where that 15-degree angle to the sun becomes so low it won't continue to power it?
Well, that's precisely why I'm in touch with, actually, I think he's checked into at least one of our nets, Ray Weber over in West Springfield. He's the Skywarn coordinator for Western Mass, and also Rob Macedo, who was one of the presenters for Skywarn a couple of years ago for the club. And I asked them to give me a window when I have a few days of an easterly jet stream from here in Chicopee out over the Atlantic, and when I don't have any big storms brewing out of North Africa, Southern Europe. We had a day and a half this past week where the stream would have been beautiful to go from here. There are minimal storms and all, but the days are still very short. And tonight I was just telling the guys before you joined us, Paul, the stream is heading almost due north from this area, and it goes up on the eastern side of Hudson Bay, loops around the pole, and comes back down over the Midwest. So that's not what I want to do.
All right, great, cool. Well, we're all looking forward to learning more. And Paul has a drone, so he's going to do some practicing, and hopefully be there at the launch when you do the launch, Marcel. And hopefully, as many of us as possible will be there to safely watch from a distance at all. So we'll be watching more and learning more as you know more. So moving on. Fox hunting is something I've been doing for nearly 40 years, or a little more than 40 years. It's something I enjoy, as many others do too. It's kind of like hide and seek with the radio, and others say it's kind of like geocaching with the radio. Either way, it's both fun and addictive, and sometimes it can be extremely aggravating, and other times it's amazing. Down in Connecticut, the Connecticut Fox Hunters Group, they've been doing it for a while, and they started putting out fox boxes, I don't know, last year or the year before. And so you can go out hunting, or like Faye and I go out hunting coming March, probably when it's a little warmer, every weekend. Some of the guys are out there now in the cold weather, which is too cold for me. But anyways, lots of different ways to go finding the fox, from simple to extravagant, from basic ideas to some high tech and everything in between. So I invited 4 guys from the group to come and talk to us, or to join us and talk to us tonight on what gear they use, and talk for 10 to 15 minutes each on what they use and how they do it, and to give some ideas out to the rest of us if we want to go hunting. So going to start with Paul, N1 TUP. I saw you here somewhere, and where you are, but I'm going to turn it over to you, Paul, N1 TUP. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Can I share my screen? Is that turned on?
Yep.
Okay, great. We've been having live fox hunts every New Year's Day for quite a few years now, including this past New Year's. And I want to share a little bit of information about that, as long as I can make it work here. Oh, it says I can't share, Larry.
All right, try it again. Try it now.
Now I can. That's good. Okay. This is a side elevation of the fox hunt from New Year's Day. I was the fox, and I was hidden in the west end of New Britain, Connecticut, over on the left-hand end of this chart. And the fox hunters were starting from South Windsor, Connecticut, all the way over on the right-hand side. And as you can see, there was absolutely nothing between us. It was line of sight. I think you could have shown a laser beam between us. And one thing I've learned over the years as a fox is every time I try to predict whether a fox hunt's going to be difficult or easy, it seems I'm always wrong. I had predicted this one as being easy, although long. As you can see, the distance here was 27 kilometers, which works out to be about 19 statute miles. We do have a 20-mile limit. And most of our fox hunts are not this long. But just because of the length of it, that would take a little more time. But for whatever reason, this year, the hunt didn't turn out to be as easy as this chart might indicate that it is. As you can see along the contour of the ground here, there are green sections, which is where my signal would be nice and strong. There are yellow sections where you could hear my signal, but it would be a little bit weaker. And a couple of red spots where you wouldn't hear my signal at all. And over where the ground comes to the lowest point, that's the Connecticut River. That's where the course crossed the Connecticut River. So that's where I was. I was at the west end of New Britain at a school that's been there forever, it seems. And we've been using the same starting point for many years. Well, let me share one more thing here, if I can. Okay. Just a couple of techniques that we've seemed to develop over the years. Let me see if I can get this to work the way I want it to. If we're at the starting point over here on the right-hand side, and we, when the Fox transmits, we get a direction of them on, say, 230 degrees, okay? And as it turns out, usually the heading that you get from the starting point is the best one you're going to get. It tends, you're up nice and high. You tend to get the best heading, although it is the most distant heading. It tends to be very good. And all the fox hunt books will tell you, well, you need another heading off to the side. That's true. If you get another heading off to the side, that now you've got a cross point and you know approximately how far out the fox is. Okay? It's probably not worth driving out of your way to get that cross heading. You're probably going to get it somewhere along the line from a, I don't know, a home station or maybe another fox hunter. So it's not worth driving out of your way. We've kind of decided that the best method that works for us is just to drive a straight line from the starting point. Just drive in the direction that you've got the initial signal from. But if you are able to get initial headings and additional headings, you can see they form a triangle here. And that within that triangle is where you're going to start looking for the fox. You may also get a heading from somebody over here like this. We would call that an outlier. You would assign that a very low priority. For whatever reason, we tend to give our own headings the highest priority. And let's say somebody from here gave us a heading. I would have to give that a fairly high priority because it's close and it's going to have a better direction. But you never know. It's everybody has their own technique. As far as antennas go, most of us use Yagis. Yagis can be affected by the metal, the mass of the car. Especially if the Yagi is oriented vertically, the body of the car is going to throw it all off. If you put the antenna horizontal, the mass of the car doesn't interfere as much. And I see Ray's on here. Ray was the winner this year, and he's going to talk, I think, about his cubicle quad because the mass of the car doesn't interfere with those types of antennas. So I'll answer any questions, or if you want to wait until the others have spoken, and then collectively we can answer questions.
Well, let's see if there's a few questions right now. For any questions for Paul?
I got a question.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. How far away from the car would you have to be to eliminate that signal issue?
Well, a lot of people use a handheld Yagi at the starting point, and they'll be 100 feet away from the car.
100 feet. Okay.
50 feet's probably enough, but play it safe.
Okay.
All right, thank you. When I use my little 3-element Yagi, I'm not that far away. I might be 25, 30 feet away, and that's usually enough for me. But we'll see. We'll see. Great. Thank you very much, Paul. We'll get right back to you. And Ray, N1NWIE, come on in. You're up next.
Thanks, Larry, and hi to everyone. See if we can get this to work also. This is the first time I'm doing a sharing, so let's try that and have a little presentation here as I talk. And I just have to find it. There we go. Okay, so my name is Ray Todek, N1WIE. Just a little bit about myself. I was licensed since 1995. I'm an extra class. My QTH is in South Windsor, Connecticut. I'm a member of the Bears of Manchester since 1996. I'm involved with public service and safety. And when we go on vacations and whatnot, I enjoy ham radio portable operations while camping, using an ICOM 706 Mark II-G along with the buddy pole antenna. I've had good luck with that. Fox hunting I've done since 1997. Not as quite as long as Larry. And we've done both short and long hunts. Short meaning, like Paul mentioned, 20 miles and under, and long hunts are anything goes. I think I've done 3 or 4 of those. We used to do this as a club way back in the late 90s and everything just before 9/11 hit. We were doing shorts. I think it was almost every Thursday. We were doing short hunts, and Sundays, I believe there was 2 Sundays a month. Might be a short, and sometimes it was long hunts. My equipment I use is an ICOM. It's an old HT ICOM IC T22A. It's a single band, low band. The Cubex 4-element 2-meter quad, and the Arrow antenna attenuator, which I can get 75 dB out of that. So here's a picture of, actually this was this year. The trailer in the background was part of Paul's setup that he had. He worked out of there. That's my vehicle. I actually was a brand new car I had for only 2 weeks, so I had to set it up really quick. It's the 4-element Cubex quad mounted on the racks. And I'll show you some close-up pictures how that's all mounted on there. So here I am. What I've done is I have a 2x4 that I've drilled out so it fits the rack on top of the car. I used to use this setup also. I had a back in a 19, wow, I think it was an 82 pickup truck. It was a just a work cab, and I was able to put a rack on top of the truck cab, and I had this 2x4 on the rack, parallel with the vehicle, and the antenna would hang out just behind the rear window where it opened up, and I was able to maneuver it from there. But on here, it's over the towards the driver's side. And I'll get a little more deeper into this. And then the way this is set up right now is for horizontal. It can easily be moved, just making a quarter turn, and then you have vertical. So sometimes, I mostly always run horizontal, but every once in a while, if we were trying to get some distance, if we weren't quite hearing the fox, quite what we needed, we'd try a vertical setting, then I can go back to the horizontal. And I also saw on here that I have my co-pilot, WA1 UUU Dale. He's on with us here too. So good to see you here, Dale. Here's another shot. Shows a little bit more closer on the driver's side. What I did was I took this this little piece of pipe I got from Home Depot, drilled a hole through the 2x4, screwed it in so that that hole is really tight, and there's threads on that pipe. And I screwed it in all the way through to the back side of the 2x4. And it's pretty sturdy. It doesn't move. It stays right there. Now this whole setup, like I said, was back when I was using that pickup truck back in the late 90s. And it just seems to hold in place pretty good. You'll see where the 1.5 PVC comes down by the window. And all I have to do is, as I'm going along, just roll the window down, and I can turn this as I'm driving. To get back out of the car, I have to lift it back up. And so what I have here is the little tie here where I can just slide that underneath, and it'll hold the pipe up so I can get out. Up in here, what I did was, because you don't want this, otherwise this will fall right down through. So I had to put a hose clamp up here, and I took some of these little wire guides that would screw into metal or a wall or anything. Your coax could go through there, but instead I used it so it rubs up against the pipe. I got 4 of these on there, and that way everything stays up there, and it doesn't get connected into the connector here. Then I just run the coax around and goes down in through the car door. Here's the back side underneath, just to show a little bit there. Just some more shots. Altogether, this might take maybe 15 minutes to put into the car. And on the inside, what I use is got my compass. What I have is an old map of the state of Connecticut and part of Massachusetts. And I don't think I could blow this up. No, I can't. Gotta go back here. What I did was I took a template and I put in, starting with north, and put all my 10-degree increments in here. So what I can do when I get my, and this is where we all start in South Windsor. And I can get my heading, and I can draw my line. And what I'll do is I'll pick a town further out, more towards the 20-mile mark. And I'll use that as a guide as I'm driving along. And as I'm driving, I'm now using, which we didn't have before, got a GPS. And that'll start showing me some of the parks and the schools and stuff like that as I get closer. My compass, and this is my attenuator. But I use the HT for strictly receiving the Fox. I have Yaesu 8800 that I'll listen to on the repeater side, because you might be going along and all of a sudden you lose the signal, and now you're kind of lost until you can come back in where you can get a signal back in on the HT. So we can listen on the repeater on one and on the input on the other. Dale, who comes along with me, he has his HT, and what he'll do is when we stop, he'll get out of the car and he does a little body fade, and that kind of confirms we're going in the right direction, so to speak. A lot of times what we run into is reflections. Paul made a good point. Trying to stay on that one path is the best way to try to find a fox. But usually, we're all pretty smart hams, and when the signal starts going somewhere else, you figure, well, that must be the better route. And sure enough, it's usually not. You're just chasing a reflection, and it brings you off the path. Now you got to find your way back. That's what takes so long. Or you're listening to some of the other people, and you got to make a decision if they're pretty close to what your heading was, or they're pretty far off, and then take it from there. Let me see. That's a close-up of the attenuator I use. Usually when I get in close enough, if I'm up to 60 dB on the attenuator, I'm really close, and now it's just a matter of a couple miles or so and getting in there. This works out pretty good. If anybody's interested, this is where I got the quad from. You'll see they can mount them two ways. You can mount them on the end, or you can mount them in the middle. They come both ways, down the end or center. And this has a little bit of the specs. It's 2.5 pounds. It's just regular coax, BNC connectors, and it actually handles the legal limit. And you get a lot of funny looks when you're on the road. There's no doubt about that. So with that, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything that I might know.
Any immediate questions by anybody?
When you're tracking it, are you listening to the carrier or are you watching your signal strength on your radio?
Yeah, well, the radio has the S meter on there, and you're watching your strength. You're also listening to the sound. When somebody is really far away, or if it's hard to hear, I mean, with the HT that I have, it's really easy to open up the squelch, and you're just listening for that little difference in the hissing noise from the squelch when you're on the right path. Especially on long hunts, that comes into play. One thing we did, I'll remember, and Paul, I think you were with us. I'm not sure if Dale was, and this was before 9/11. We had a long range hunt that was up north. I think we had 6 or 7 of us, and the fox ended up being in New Hampshire. But just below where he was, which we didn't know at the time, he was up real high. On the elevation was quite a bit of difference, over 100 feet. And there was a lake down below, and there was a road that went around it. And we were getting so many reflections from the signal that we looked like we were the Indians going around the camp, the cowboy camp. A couple of guys be going in one direction, another one another direction, then we cross each other, and it probably took us about a half an hour before we figured out that we had to get away from there. And sure enough, once we did that, and we kind of figured out where he was, but he was up fairly high. But we had some guys over at Monadnock Mountain, and they'd show up at the Rangers booth there when you come up to the parking lot. And after the first couple of guys that were there, the guy would tell us that, nope, he's not here. So don't even bother trying to looking. But it was a lot of fun. But that was that hunt was probably about 7 hours before we finally got to it. So that's some of the fun stuff. Frustrating, but it's fun.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks, Ray. I was only 20 minutes behind you on New Year's Day, so.
Well, that was good. That was good.
I'm curious about the driving with that cubicle quad.
Yep. I
have this vision of you jumping on 84 heading to Bristol, Connecticut at 75 miles an hour and leaving that instead of about a mile behind you.
No, it stays right there. It's pretty solid. Yeah, that one little short piece of pipe makes a big difference. It's, the OD of the PVC and the ID of the steel pipe makes the big difference. And there is just a tiny bit of play. I did have some little round washers that would fit around the PVC between that and inside the steel pipe. And that would even hold it more so. But since then, those have dried out. I haven't replaced them, but it still stays in place. Sometimes it'll turn a little bit, but for the most part, but it doesn't go anywhere. You'd be surprised.
Interesting.
I think it'll look really good on your Audi there, Paul.
Yeah.
You do get a lot of looks from the police also.
I have a hard time keeping that under 75 though, Larry.
Excellent, Ray. Thank you very much. Next up, we've got Paul, KC1BQP. I think I saw you out there, Paul.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. Give me 1 second here. I'm adding one more graphic to the document. I forgot to I forgot to grab a picture of the attenuator that goes on to the tape measure Yagi. So, all right, let me share my screen out, and we'll start from the simple and go from there. Why am I not finding the screen share? There it is.
Yep, down bottom.
All right, are you guys seeing the tape measure?
Nope.
No.
That's green. There, that's better.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, so I started the hobby about 7 years ago, and about 4 years ago, I discovered that in late December, in about a week's time, the Bears were going to do their annual January fox hunt, which Paul hosts along with a number of other people. And I said, well, I've got an HT and I have nothing to do fox hunting with. So what am I going to do? Well, sacrificial tape measure, some scissors, a little bit of PVC pipe and some connectors, and it's a very formidable handheld ability to do fox hunting. So lots of different types of Yagis that you can do handheld fox hunting with. And at that time, I had a little bit of a few BNC connectors and a cable, and connected it up to an FT60 Yaesu HT. And off I went to the fox hunt on the January fox hunt. So as Paul indicated, generally the first bearing that you have is definitely you're pretty much your most accurate bearing. And as this progressed, I'm in a pickup truck with a tape measure Yagi and an HT. And when the fox comes on the air and says, all right, your 1 minute warning. At this point, I'm handheld, portable. I need to find a place to park to get a bearing. And as you're driving around, you definitely do get a lot of looks when you quickly pull over to the side of the road, try to jump in the bed of the truck and figure out, all right, where is this signal coming from? And it turned out this, amongst everything else that I'm going to show, tends to be simple, fairly accurate, and there's not a whole lot of complexity to it's in this general direction. Whatever that bearing happens to be, it tends to be fairly accurate. And as you're plotting lines, either on some sort of a mapping software on a laptop device or literally on a map, the simpler tends to be the better. So that was back about 4 years ago, and I had an interest in looking at what else is possible. So I started searching the internet for what was possible, and what I landed on was a company that does basically commercial signal finding. And this is a device that is produced that there's, as you see, 4 antennas. They're placed on the roof of a vehicle, and it's effectively a pseudo Doppler. So what happens is you have a radio that receives a signal, and that center box is a high-speed antenna switch that the control unit manages. And it injects a tone into the signal path. And much like a fire engine that's approaching you or a fire engine that's leaving, it works on that pseudo Doppler effect. And this dial here indicates in what direction relative to the vehicle the signal is coming from. And once it's tuned on a particular vehicle, it's a fairly accurate direction of where the signal is coming from. You can use the unit just as it is, and it gives you a bearing direction relative to your direction of travel, where that signal is coming from. There's two ways of using this device. One is to use the bearing that comes right off the unit, or the unit can be attached to a computer with software that they produce, and it generates for you based on the GPS location that you're at and the bearing that it's receiving, and it allows you to plot that on a map. Gives you an idea of where you're going, and you have the ability that when you tell it to take a plot, it draws the next line on the map, and the more plot locations you get, you at some point start to triangulate on, all right, what neighborhood do I need to be driving around? What I discovered as I was using this is there's a lot of complexity to it. And while I'm no longer having to hop out of the vehicle to track the location, I need the unit. It's attached to a computer. I've got to be taking the plot directions. And there's some difficulty in just obviously driving the vehicle and doing this at the same time. It can be a difficult process. It is quite accurate in where the signal is coming from. You do initially have to tune the unit, but that's simply done when the antennas are on the vehicle. There's a little set screw here, and you literally have somebody walk around the vehicle at about 30, 50 feet out, and the set screw quickly identifies, okay, 0 straight ahead. Yep, we're at 90, we're at 180, we're at 270. And then from that point on that vehicle with the antenna placement as it is, it's a very accurate direction. And what I found is this didn't quite work necessarily the way that I needed it to. And at that time, I was starting to discover that software-defined radios and receivers, and I discovered a device that's called Kerberos SDR. And what the Kerberos SDR does is it's if anyone's familiar with the USB dongle devices that give you SDR, well, this is a custom piece of hardware where the creator of this piece of hardware has put 4 SDRs onto a board and tied them into a USB hub that feeds those individual SDR units into a computer. And similar to the pseudo Doppler, there are 4 antennas that are placed on top of the vehicle, and there is software that runs in the Raspberry Pi itself, and there's mapping software that runs on a phone. And what it allows you to do is you can start and pause where the current signal that's being received is coming from. And as you're driving around, it starts to generate a heat map of where is the hottest section of the map that you're in, it's mathematically calculating each one of those plot points based not only on the bearing, but also the strength of signal and how many plot points that you've created. The actual software is doing mathematical analysis and the time of arrival and where the signal is coming from. And it's continually plotting, where is this signal coming from? It works fairly well, but what I discovered is, as Paul indicated, I mean, we had a clear line of sight from the start to the finish. And in order for this particular unit to work, you have to synchronize the 4 antennas. You also have to ensure that, and what the synchronization does is the 4 SDRs share a clock. After the clock has been synced, you then have to align the phase so that you understand which antenna is receiving the signal first, so that the software can then calculate where is this particular signal coming from. And that's all fed to the app that's running on the Android phone. And what I discovered this particular last year on January is this is the result. I reset it 5 times because I wasn't getting the confidence of where is this signal coming from. And weeks prior, I had gone on signal finding of, I went and found, all right, where is the weather service transmitter? And it's a known location, so I knew effectively where I was going to, and it was fairly accurate. Well, what I had discovered after I looked at the data that had occurred is this is where Paul was. And in the 5 runs, there was a phase tuning or a temperature. These SDR units are not themselves temperature stable. There's not a single plot line that I was actually anywhere near where Paul was actually located as the Fox. So part of my learning is the unit works very well when it works. It's a little bit temperamental in that when you go and do the phase and the synchronization, if there's a signal coming in, it's the reference, the signal coming into the SDR is affecting the phase and the synchronization to the point that you're really not getting a proper synchronization. And for this year, what I wanted to do is I wanted to have the ability so that from the phone, I had the ability to synchronize and phase so that everything was tuned correctly. And I had found somebody that had actually created 2-port antenna switches that could also be driven from the Raspberry Pi to switch to the 50 ohm terminators, synchronize everything, get it set, then switch back over to the antennas. Well, little did I know at the time, these were not available. This was something somebody just created. And it turned out I wasn't the only one that was looking for these. So Corey Colville, who created these, actually had enough interest that he has since made a production run of these. So hopefully these will be coming in the next couple weeks, and I'll be able to do the tune and the phase synchronization as I'm in the vehicle and as I'm moving around, so that there's more confidence that the signal that I'm getting is actually accurate. And then there's the software that drives this is running on the Raspberry Pi, and the software that controls each of the SDRs. There's the 4 SDRs are actually independent, and it's this software that does all of the signal crunching to say, okay, where in relation to all 4 is the signal coming from, and that gets fed as bearing and plot lines into the phone, which is then tracking, okay, what is the triangulation, and where is this signal thought to be coming from. And then, yep, as I indicated, this was the plot line of the final file that I took. Any questions or comments?
Cool, very cool. Technology is fun. Thank you very much, Paul. And I'm sure we'll have some questions after our next presenter too.
All right, very good.
Everybody will have a mix of questions after seeing everything. Thank you very much. And so last up, I'm bringing up Rod, N1RUU. Rod does some cool hunting stuff too, and he's very good at it. And he was second on New Year's Day, and somehow I was only 5 minutes behind him third. It beat my last place finishes on just about every other hunt I'd been on New Year's Day. But anyways, a lot of fun. All yours, Rod.
All right, thanks, Larry. I've only been hunting since April of 2020. Used to listen to it years ago in the 90s on the Mount Tom group all the time. Had great fun listening to it. Built an antenna, was going to participate, but then kids came along, life got in the way, and that got put in the back burner for a little bit. So when I heard Paul putting out his boxes and got involved in it, it was a blast, and been doing it with that group with Dave and I keep getting his call sign wrong. NT1J down in Wallingford. Been going down with that group quite a bit for the live hunts every Saturday. And so one of the tools I use is fox hunting with an SDR. And this is just one of the many things we use. Why would I use an SDR? Well, it's a really inexpensive receiver. And the big benefit of it is the adjustable gain, that you can really knock it down. You can be about 4 feet away from the radio and still be able to verify your signal. The equipment that's required, I use an Android phone or an Android tablet. Unfortunately, Apple doesn't let you use their products. So if you already have an Android phone or tablet, then you already have what you need. You just need an OTG cable. It's about $9. And a inexpensive SDR dongle. And the app, which the app I use is free. So this is the SDR dongle that I'm using. $25. I actually have a couple of them, and I've used them for general receiving. This will tune down to 500 kilohertz. So 500 kilohertz to 1.7 gig. The sensitivity is fairly low, under 24 megahertz, but you can still go down and listen to HF if you want to, and get pretty decent performance if you have a antenna on it. But for what I use it for, it's more than enough. You could even use a less expensive one. The OTG cable that I'm using, just whatever works with your phone, whether it's a USB-C or a micro USB. Fairly cheap cable. This was $9 for 2 of them. And the software I'm using, on Android, I'm using the RF Analyzer, which is a free app. And that, if you read it, it requires an SDR driver. That's a free download. So you install those 2 things. And here's a picture of my phone. So in the first slide over to the left, the first photo, that's just the adjustable gain. I always use it on the manual gain. And if you're far away, usually I don't use it until I get closer. This is kind of for my close-up finding. But in that middle picture there, you can see just a tiny antenna I have on there on the phone. And that signal is showing -10. And I was about 4 feet away from the HT when I transmitted that. So you can still detect in very close range. And the nice thing about it is that on the right, you can see the waterfall. So if you're unsure if you're getting closer or further away, you can look at your waterfall, and what you'll see towards the bottom moving up, the bottom is the history of it, which is the time is closest to you would be at the top. So as you see there, for that demo, I just walked about 20 feet away from the box to the box, and you can see the waterfall get brighter as I got closer to it. So as I'm walking around in the woods or wherever, looking for a box, this works. Now, normally, I don't use this as my main finding. Most of the time I'll use a Yagi on a radio. But when we're driving around, so I'll put a tablet on the dash, running an SDR with a small antenna towards the front of the truck. And my wife kind of keeps an eye on that when I'm keeping an eye on the radio. And a lot of times we just want to make sure we agree. And my radio only has a 10 dB attenuation on it. So when we start getting real close, I rely on her to look at the SDR and tell me when to stop. And then usually we've got an iPad there that she's using, and we use the app SigTracks, and we plot all our courses on there. All our bearings get plotted right on there. I don't even use a mechanical compass anymore. I had a mechanical compass that apparently when I put it down in the truck, it was next to a magnet, and it was sending me all over the place I shouldn't have been going. So I use the SigTracks, and you can plot it right on there. And I use instead of getting a bearing from that, because I'm not sure I trust the built-in compass on the iPad, I look at landmarks and use a satellite view, and I'll just run the line right through a landmark that I can see. And so far that has been really accurate. So there's a close-up of the tablet. And this is just an old tablet we had, an old Samsung tablet. And you can see the waterfall down below, and then our signal. We were parked basically right on top of the box right here. So we knew we were close. And what I'm looking at usually is the radio, and I always tune in the primary frequency. In this case, it's your Fox box. And then I've also got the third harmonic programmed in. And once you learn the different transmitters, you'll basically find out how far away you can hear that third harmonic. Like Paul's Fox Box 1, you're probably maybe 50 feet away, if that. Where I know the box up in Massachusetts there, I've plotted it at 1,000 feet away. So the time that it was up in Amherst, I picked it up coming over the bridge into the back way into UMass, and looked on the map afterwards. So it's real good to know the transmitter you're looking for. Once you learn it, you can really get the distances down. So the issues with that, using an SDR, when you have that dongle plugged into the OTG cable and into the phone, it's using battery power even if the app isn't running. So it will reduce the life of your device. So usually when we're running the tablet, we don't turn it on until we're getting close. And charging with the SDR plugged in doesn't work together. There are cords that allow it, but the way Android works, or at least the versions I've had, it won't allow you to charge and use the data coming in through that USB port at the same time. And then every once in a while, you get a random crash of the app. But it's, most of the time I'd say we don't, but there are the random crashes. I think that's all I really had for that. Now, I normally run a Yagi on top of the truck that's in one fixed direction. And hunting for the boxes or the Wallingford group where they run a continuous transmitter makes it real easy, because I'll come up to a corner and key the box right before I turn the corner, and I'll know when I turn the corner if I went the right way or the wrong way. With Paul's live hunt, it was definitely that antenna really didn't get used that much unless I just happened to be in a spot where he was transmitting and the road took a bend. So I think it depends on the type of transmitter you're hunting, depends on the best method, that's for sure.
What do you use for an attenuator when you're mobile with the antenna on the roof?
So my radio has a built-in 10 dB attenuation.
Cool.
And that usually with the Yagi, so I also have an AB switch, so I'll switch between a regular magnetic mount omnidirectional and the Yagi. So that helps me in my direction finding too, because depending on which one I got the stronger signal, I know if I'm pointing in the right direction.
Cool. Anybody have any questions for Rod or for any of the other guest speakers? Quiet group tonight. Usually lots of questions. Cool. Well, thank you, Paul, Ray. Actually, two Pauls, and Rod and Ray there. Thank you very much. And hopefully Faye and I will see you guys out there hunting one of these times soon, or and such. And our second Fox box is about 70% done. We're not using a Baofeng, we're using the Ace 2 HT. So I'd be curious, Rod, how far away you could pick up the third harmonic with that one once we get our.
Probably much less. Just a guess.
Yeah, we decided to go with something other than the Baofeng, and
well, I can tell you the time you hid the box up at Skinner State Park.
Yeah.
I picked that up a quarter mile away. I picked up the third harmonic.
Oh my God! Wow, that's crazy.
I brought a Baofeng to the league to have them tested, and I left it with them. Like, it was $25. Just throw it out.
Oh my gosh! Well, I concur with what everybody says. It's a lot of fun. When I hunt, I've got my mobile rig on the repeater on my external antenna, and I've got the input on the repeater, and I've got an HT. I found out not all my HTs have good ears. My Kenwood HT is the best hearing. I use that for using with the antenna, and I also drive around with an HT without the antenna. And between watching the input on the mobile rig and listening to the input on the rig without the antenna, that's a big winner when you start getting close. Instead of looking down at the radio, start looking up to see where the fox is. And that happened to work for us extremely well New Year's Day this year. But great. Thank you guys for joining us. It's been a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll get more people interested in fox hunting. Once the weather gets a little nicer, Fox Box 1 will start going out again. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll get Fox Box 2 completed and get that sucker out there too. Different radio, different setup, and hopefully a lot of fun, a lot of challenges. We've got upcoming meetings next month where it's going to be all about Club Log. What is it and what you can do with it. Nick K1NZ is going to be our guest speaker there. And then in April, we brought our show and tell back to April. So hopefully you guys in between COVID and between winter are working on projects. And we're going to be bringing, like I said, April is show and tell. We always have a lot of fun with it. So hopefully we'll see some cool projects. Maybe some of you are building the CW readers and or other things you're working on. Jurgen's always working on some cool project too. but hopefully everybody else is also. And then in May, we have Mariusz, KB1MDS, is going to be talking to us about how he worked to get the International Space Station to talk to his class at Pathfinder Regional, I think is the school. So we'll learn all about that, and that should be really interesting. And then June, we'll see. Elections and maybe field day, maybe not, who knows? Or maybe we'll find a guest speaker for that. Gary's working hard. He's got some ideas for speakers for next year, for next fall. And if people planned as far ahead as I did, we'd be able to book them too. But a lot of people won't plan that far ahead. But got good things coming up between the balloon launch and the meetings, and the fox hunts will be starting soon. The nets. Contests on the weekends and everything else coming up. A lot of things going on radio-wise. And if you have an idea or something, send it off to me or one of the other board members. We're always active and interested in doing things. And our ham class has started this past Wednesday night. If you can believe, there are 62 people enrolled in the ham class. Some from all over the country. I think Mike said he's got Oregon, Texas, I believe Colorado, as well as all parts of the Northeast too. So, and a lot of locals too. So if you can imagine a tech class with 62 people on it online, Mike N1TA is teaching it with K1YO and I guess a few others too. So that's something else. That's spectacular. And let's see here. Hopefully, we'll hear some of you guys on the 1010 contest is this weekend. 1010 promotes operation on 10 meters. You can go to ten-ten.org and learn more about the 1010 club. When you work 10 people with 1010 numbers and submit it, you can get a number yourself. And my number is down to 31,000s. I've had my number 40 years, maybe, thereabouts. And I think they're up to the 75 to 80,000 now, maybe even higher. But it's a lot of fun. Work 10 people, earn a number, work more than that, and have a lot of fun. That runs, I think, from 7 o'clock tonight to 7 o'clock on Sunday night. Let's see here. Do we have any other announcements or anything else going on? No other announcement? Do we have any announcements? I don't see Aaron from the Franklin County Club. His meeting is coming up on Monday, I believe. The second Monday, or did that already happen? No, that's coming up this. No, not this Monday. The following Monday is the second Monday for Franklin County. So,
Larry, it's this Monday.
Oh, it is this Monday. All right, thank you, Ann. I don't have my calendar in front of me, so I've lost track of days. Is there does he have a subject to what's going on this week? Hello?
I think it's from the National Traffic or something. I'm sorry, I don't really know.
Okay, not a problem. Was just curious. Do we have any other announcements that anybody wants to announce? Or comments or announcements? Anybody else going to go fox hunting or going to put together some gear and go hunting? You don't need to spend a lot. You can, if you have a Baofeng radio, $15, you can build a tape measure, antenna or less, and an attenuator. You can probably get all equipped if you worked hard at it, maybe for $40 or $50. And it does work. It does work very well. Okay. Well, with that, I'd like to say thank you all again for joining us tonight, and everybody stay safe and have a great weekend. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you, and thank you to presenters.
Yeah, thank you very much, you guys, for presenting too.
Yeah, nice job.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Very good with everything.
Certainly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Larry, I think I could get a signal and give you a bearing from down here.
Hey, Eric.
When I saw you joining us, Eric, it's like, well, when you lived local, you never joined the meetings, and now that you're down in Florida, you join us all the time.
Hey, I retired and I'm not working second shift anymore.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Makes a big difference, right, Eric?
Yeah, big time.
Oh, maybe you strap it to a box and waterproof it, strap it to the back of an alligator and go hunting. I don't know.
Must
be back out there, huh?
Yeah, that would make a big difference. But so far, life's good. I almost missed the meeting. I was over at that a balloon fest over at the Villages. It's about 25 miles up the road, and just as it got dark, some pretty heavy winds came along and blew a couple of the balloons over at like 45 degrees. So you just see them they pull all the air out of them and they just, dropped them. So just as it got dark, because they were going to do the thing where they shoot the flames and, do like a light show and all that.
Cool.
But the winds just got too heavy, so they just dropped them all.
I got some friends that live in the Villages.
Hi, Don. How are you? Yeah.
Good, you?
My dad's up there, and I'm about 20 miles south in the town of Bushnell.
Nice.
And it's, I go up to see my dad every, week or two, and so it's worked out pretty good.
I'll have to get a hold of you if I get down there again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be here until March 1st.